The vassalization is one of the key moments in Stellaris after the mid-game, when we have the power to make other empires our own vassals. With this, we can greatly improve our job efficiency by just having most resources coming from our subjects instead of our regular workers. So ideally, by the end game, we wanna have all of our population working as researchers or alloy production. Since in this game we are running nanites, we don't even need to have a massive alloy production, since we'll be building the powerful nanite ships, which basically have no upkeep and only cost nanites to build. So because of this, we wanna have all of them working as researchers, and thus we do not need to worry about minerals and energy. But at the moment, as you can see, we are losing 600 energy per month, so one way of fixing it would be to acquire more vassals. There are basically two ways of acquiring vassals. The first one is utilizing the opinion modifiers to vassalize someone through peaceful means. A command calls out for 5,000 commanders to replenish our ranks after the recent losses. Our navy needs you, commander, to help us fight the countless enemies that threatens our own existence. Enlist today and be a part of something greater. Here you can see that we have a secret fealty with these guys because they are already a subject of the United Pacarian Authority. So because of this, if we were to declare war with these little worms, we could use the Allegiance War. The Allied Panurian would be on the attacker side, and if we won the war, they would instantly become our subject. This is the easiest way to acquire vassals, to just proposing the subjugation from them. However, most of the times they would be at war or they would deny it because we do not have a very good opinion with our empires. However, there is another way of acquiring them, which is through war. Now with this, I heavily recommend you sort by relative power and try to vassalize the strongest AIs in the game first. Here we can see that the Gavian Concord, they are the closest ones to us. They're still very pathetic in terms of fleet power, so we could safely conquer them. As a matter of fact, they are even very close to our borders, so we can even try to claim some systems for us that we would want to have. So what we do is first we claim every system that we want. Here, since we want to have all the Fallen Empire systems later on, we can claim the systems that are adjacent to it so we can have a better border in the end game. There are also two Gaia worlds that are from the Fallen Empires, and we want to have those territories as well. Since at the moment we are by far the strongest empire in the game, we can even declare war on the United Pacarian and at the same time declare war on the Gavians after we build up a fleet a little better. So we go here and declare the Allegiance War. It will go to a vote because we are in a federation, and it unfortunately failed because our allies didn't want to go to war with them. Yeah, that happens when we are in a federation, unfortunately. Now that we do have a lot more influence, we can just start to claim all the systems that we want. So let's go up on here, and on this side we'll go all the way there. Now we can safely declare war on the Gavian Concord and claim all of their systems on top of making them our tributary. Of course, this now goes to vote on a federation, but we have become the sole ruler of the federation now, so only our vote matters in this regard. Oh, and at the same time we were at war with them, the Fallen Empires decided to attack. Well, we're gonna take two empires at once then, and our nanite ships completely obliterated the Fallen Empires this time. Finally, it was about time, right? We were losing so many battles to them, but thankfully we managed to fight back. So finally, after 20 long years, we can achieve our war goals and vassalize the Gavian Concord, the strongest AI empire in our galaxy. With this, they should appear on the contacts menu right here on the agreements. Obviously, they really hate us, and on top of that, we also got their own vassal, the Kessan Autocracy. However, those guys, they aren't that strong, but well, we got them as a gift basically. Right now, as you can see, we have the same agreement that they had on the beginning. However, this agreement is very bad for us because it is consuming us 30% of their monthly basic production. So we are losing 300 energy and 200 minerals. The point of a bulwark is that they would provide us with some military defense, but well, since we pretty pretty much turbo stomped them. There is literally no need for military defenses on their side. So what we can do is just do some terms negotiation after 60 months, which should be in 5 years. The same thing is also valid for the Gavian Concord. However, the Gavian, they are a protectorate, meaning that they have a very low tech cost for all of their technologies. As a matter of fact, they pay, I think, they only pay 20% of the technology cost because we have so much lead in the technology field. However, in exchange, they pay us 30% of their monthly basic resource production, which means 500 of basically each resource, which is fantastic. Later on, we can even improve this to something like plus 45%. There is also something very good regarding the overlords, which is the holdings. Since we have an agreement that gives us 4 overlord holdings, we can construct 4 of these holdings on their empire. However, it is not 4 per planet, it is 4 in the total of the empire, but those buildings are extremely busted. So here, for instance, on the Fullest capital, they are mainly producing energy through the technicians. So what we can do is just create a ministry of energy. This means that their technicians will, instead of producing energy for them, will produce energy for us. Another good thing is to look out for their most productive planets. As a matter of fact, their most specialized ones, because with these you can build the most efficient holdings on their planets. Here on Quitro, for instance, it is such a bad planet, it is not even worth it for us to build a holding since they are producing basically anything. However, here on Kudater, you can see that they have plenty of alloy jobs and they are producing 180 alloys. So this would be a perfect place for us to have the Ministry of Extraction, which will give us some alloys. Here on Yatru, they are mainly producing Unity. However, we don't have a good Unity production building in the Overlord holdings. However, one thing that we can do is just build an Organic Heaven. Since we are a Rogue Servitor, this will give us a little bit of Unity and also improve the monthly loyalty change, which is something that you want for later on negotiating the agreements, because the agreements are based off their opinion and the relative power. However, if we change things too much, they will not accept it, and ideally you want to have an Scholarium rather than a Bulwark later on, so we want to be friends with them for a while. Now that we have won that war, we can shift our focus towards destroying the fallen empires, because it is quite hard for us utilizing nanite ships to take care of them. With all of the fallen empire worlds conquered, we can just achieve our war goals and grab all of their population. Fantastic. Threat neutralized. Now we have plenty of pops as our bio trophies, and we can start moving on vassalizing more empires. Hello, Commander. If you're enjoying my content, please consider being a part of our higher ranks and financially supporting the growth of our navy. Depending on your contribution, you'll have access to different sections of our military, being able to command an entire fleet and up to a whole sector in our live streams. That will happen almost every weekend. With every contribution, the empire grows stronger, and you, Commander, will help us shape the future of our universe. Going back to the United Pacarian Authority, now it is time for us to declare war, and let's make a tributary. This time they also have 2 other vassals, before they only had 1, so if we win this war we'll have actually 3 new vassals. That's fantastic. Now it is time we can negotiate the agreements with our current 2 vassals. So here on the terms we can pretty much just change it. However, since their technological level is so minimal compared to ours, if we were to establish a protectorate, they would stay as a protectorate forever basically, since we would be researching much faster than they are. Yeah, it's a tough decision, because as a bulwark they are kinda consuming our basic resources. However, they do provide us with some bonuses, especially regarding the shield hit points in old systems, and later on we can have some bonuses to our defensive platforms. So here we could have a little bit of research from them, however it is really dismal compared to our current production, and it would cost us 500 influence to do that, so we are not gonna change the agreements from our bulwark, but instead let's try to have a better agreement with our current protectorate. Now with them we can just get plus 45% of their basic resource production and also establish up to 4 holdings on their planets. Let's also have unified sensors, because this one is actually pretty useless and it still increases the monthly loyalty, which is a good thing. Now let's go ahead, it's gonna cost us 440 influence. They are probably gonna accept it. Fantastic, and now we can start establishing those precious overlord holdings on their planets. Their home planet is all about energy as well, so let's just build the Ministry of Energy, and since they are also producing food, we can also build up the Ministry of Acquisition to get a little bit from these agricultural districts. Here they are producing a little bit of alloys, so let's just build a Ministry of Extraction as well. So far we are producing 1000 energy, almost 1000 minerals and 1.1 thousand food just from our subjects, and we are paying just a very small amount of this. That is without even accounting the brand new subjects we're gonna get from this war. And we have won another war. With this, my friends, we have a total of 5 vassals. Every single one of them hates us completely. Now, the monthly loyalty is something that you should keep in mind if you are not the strongest empire in terms of military power, or if the AI is getting close to you, because if they somehow align themselves with other empires, they can all declare war on you, and all of a sudden you lost all of your vassals, which is terrible for 2 reasons. Well, you will lose most of your military, since the vassals actually help you in the war if you have a good agreement with them, and second, if you are depending on your vassals to produce your energy and basic resources and they somehow disband, well, you're pretty much doomed in terms of economic as well. We then got another one of our vassals, which is very good. It gives us plus 30% of the basic resource production, and 2 more vassals that are giving us plus 15% of their basic resource production, but since they are so weak it is pretty minimal at the moment. However, one thing that we can do is always try to improve them, such as establishing commercial pacts, research agreements, and even giving them some resources so they can further expand their military and also their economic power. By establishing our holdings, we got a little bit of more resources. Here we are gaining 56 alloys, 28 from here, and 100 energy and 72 food. Now these numbers may seem low, but that is because the AI in patch 4.0 it is pretty bad at the moment. However, the stronger the AI is, the better for you. So in the future the AI will eventually get better at managing the game, and vassals will become even more important. And with that, we pretty much control half the galaxy in terms of territory, and also most of it in terms of military and economic power, since we are by far the strongest empire in the game. And this is why vassals are important, my commanders. And I'm gonna stop this video right here. It has been a very long recording. If you wanna know all of the micromanagement that we did in order to win all of these wars, the video is available for members, so you can check that out. But as always, my commanders, I'll see you guys next time.